Thank you so much for your willingness to help on the production team. This video is a training video for cameras that we're hoping is going to give you the information that you need to get you started. So we have two kinds of cameras that are in our setup. Some are the stationary ones that are on stage, and then we have two that are in the back of the auditorium that need operators, and that's where we really need your help to operate those. They're two cameras that are on raised platforms in the back of the auditorium. As a camera operator, your job is to get the best shots we can of the live services. You're going to have a headset on that'll have a producer that'll be asking you to get different shots that they need to make the service as great as possible, but your job as a camera operator is just to find the best shots you can. A really good camera operator knows the songs really well so that as the service is going on, you're not shocked by any time when the band builds up or drops off all of a sudden. And a really good camera operator is just there to support the producer. The video producer is going to be switching between all the different shots, and their job can't be done well if there aren't good shots to go to. So your job is to get as good a shot as possible so that the video producer can switch to you and really capture the emotion of what's going on in our services. Let's start by going over the camera settings that are on the handles.
Each camera's handle control has three controls that you're going to need to worry about: zoom, focus, and the iris. This is the zoom control. This zooms in and out. This is the focus knob, which brings objects in and out of focus. And this is the iris wheel, which closes and opens the iris of the camera, making the image look brighter or darker.
When you sit down at the camera, the only other thing that you might want to adjust is some of the different tripod settings. There are little levers on the top of the tripod that can adjust your drag, which just changes how much resistance there is as you try to move the handle back and forth. So there are a couple different shots that you can get as a camera operator during the service. We're going to go over the most common ones, but at any point, if the producer tells you to get a shot, you just listen to what the producer says, and you go and find that shot for them. One of the things you really need to consider in any shot that you're getting is something called headroom. So headroom is the amount of space right above the top of the subject's head in the shot. You don't want to have like a ton of space above their head, like in this example. But at the same time, you don't want to be cutting off the top of the person's head. You want to try to keep about an inch or two of headroom above your subject. However, if the video producer asks for more headroom, that means that they want more space above the person's head, and if they want less headroom, it means they want you to get closer to the top of their head, just on the top of your screen. The other thing you want to make sure as you're getting your shots is that you want your subject centered in the frame. So you don't want them too far left, and you don't want them too far right. You want them right down the middle. Sometimes the producer might call for a two-shot, which just has two people in it, and then you just want to kind of keep them both, like the center of in between them, centered in the room. When you have a subject that's moving, like a communicator or someone who's doing hosting, they're going to have a tendency to walk back and forth. So what you're going to try to do is, as much as possible, keep them in the center of the frame as they're moving. That's one of the more tricky parts of running a camera, but it takes a little bit of time, and then you kind of start to get used to how they move and keeping them as centered as possible, even as they're moving around. Now let's move on to the main kinds of shots, the main distance shots that you're going to be getting. The main shot that we're getting most of the time is a medium shot, which is just below a person's waist to about 2 inches above their head. So you have their whole torso and their face clearly in the middle of the frame. Another shot that you might hear your producer call for is a close-up shot, and that'll be of just under their chest to 2 inches above their head, always keeping the headroom to that same level that we're always trying to get to. On the other end of the spectrum is the long shot. This also may vary depending on producer, but in general, this shot will be about from the shins up, just below the knees, again to above 2 inches above their head. Sometimes you'll be asked to get a shot of the entire stage, which will look a little something like this. Obviously, the head space looks different on shots like this, but you should still be mindful not to have too much. Occasionally, you may be asked to get shots of lead singers' instruments, like guitars, or whatever they happen to be playing, and they'll be closer ups even though they're on the front stage. It'll look a little something like this. Another shot for a camera operator, as soon as you get a little bit more used to it, is a moving shot. The key to these is to go as slow as possible without making any sudden jerk or movement that starts to really distract anyone who's watching. There are two main types: pushes, which is a zoom in. Depending on your producer, they might say, give me a push shot or give me a zoom in shot. and a pull, which is a zoom out. It takes a little bit of time to get really good at it, to get really fluid at it, but honestly, that's just one of the more fun parts about running the camera. So now that you know the basics of how to operate a camera, here's a little taste of what it's going to look like in the actual service. And you'll be able to hear the video producer calling out your shots.
Ready camera 5, cut 5. Ready camera 6, cut 6. Ready camera 2, cut 2. Ready camera 5, cut 5. Ready up on camera 4. We'll just hold this for a second. So we'll go quick to 4 and then to 6, Beth. So just be ready. Ready camera 4, cut 4. Ready camera 6, cut 6. Ready camera 5, cut 5. Ready on camera 2, cut 2.
So during a service, the video producer is looking at all the different shots that we have from every single camera that's in the room, and they're trying to determine which one will be great to use to really impact the viewer as the service is going on. So as they're doing that, they're calling, obviously, the shots to you in your headset so that you know what kind of shot they need to get. When a video producer calls a shot, you're going to want to make sure that you are actually serving the video producer and getting exactly what kind of shot that they want so that they can fill their vision out in what is happening on the screen. When a video producer says, ready camera 5,
Ready camera 5.
if you're on camera 5, that means that they're about to go to your shot and you should be ready to go to your shot, not moving around finding a new one, not shaking, not refocusing, just staying right where you are. And then when the producer says, cut camera 5 or fade camera 5,
Cut 5.
that means that your shot is now live. Once the producer cuts away from your camera and, for instance, says, cut camera 6, that means that your camera is no longer on the screen, and now you can go ahead and find a new shot. You want to make sure to wait a little bit before finding a new shot, just in case they're fading or doing something a little bit slower. You don't want to just quick move the camera as fast as you can because you might have some sudden jerks or some sudden movements. So that's all the basics. Obviously, as we keep learning and figuring out new things and getting new tech, who knows where all of this camera stuff could go. But we are so thankful for your willingness to learn and to work with us and figure out how to really, really just give the best experience to people who are watching online so that they can feel what it's like to know God and to be close to Him as we help people take their next step closer to Jesus. Thank you so much for everything that you are doing as our volunteer team. We could not do what we do without you, and we look forward to serving with you.